I continue to work on the case for my VEX, actually Arduino comparable controller for the VEX components. And so I've made a new version of my base and a new version of the top for the case. Let's take a look at the bottom first. So what I did is I repositioned the rib going down the middle to avoid the pins. I've also shifted my openings for my USB and my power connector that are on the board to align appropriate and properly for that. I've also gone ahead and made these feet now 1/4 inch thick rather than 1/8 inch. I think that's going to be much better. I've also changed this to accept a round head screw from the bottom rather than trying to screw it. So I think then what's going to happen is I'll screw up from the bottom into a standoff, a threaded standoff. I'll then screw from the top into that same standoff. So that's the plan. So the bottom works pretty well, except again I've got problems with that middle rib. I didn't move it off far enough, so it's still hitting. I've shaved it off a little bit again with a knife for now to make it work, but I'm going to have to address that in the final version. All right, with the top, I made some of the changes that I was talking about last time. I've made now the openings for my connectors. I had to reposition my text that I had recessed in here off to the side. I've created the opening for my external additional power connector. I've also made some other changes. I figured, you know what, I'm going to need probably a switch either as a master power switch or as a motor power switch. So I've put a little recess in here and I've got a hole in the side to allow me to put that switch through there. I've also, we'll see if I can get this on the video here. There's a couple little tabs protruding out, actually a tab protruding out from the bottom. That's going to lock it in and align it with that case so it doesn't move from side to side, although once I have it bolted it shouldn't be a big deal, but just simply provide me with a little bit more positive interlocking between the two pieces. So I've discovered a couple other things that I'm going to need to make changes on. I forgot that the VEX connectors actually have a little polarizing tab that sticks out of the 3-pin connector. So a normal servo cable connector would not be a problem, but the VEX ones will be. So I'm going to need to modify this to have notches in these to accept those VEX specific connectors. Also, the motor connector also requires that I thin this wall out a little bit. I've got the correct depth, but it's not going to slide past with that on there. So I've got to thin this out just a little bit as well. I'm also rethinking the plan. I did locate a place that sells 2-inch 440 screws, so I can cut those very easily down to the 1 3/4. So I'm going to redo the bottom. So I go back to my hex. I can run a single screw, actually bolt, from the top to the bottom into that nut. So that's going to work out well. So I can again fit my Mega into the base, snugly. This board will be on top, and again I'll have to get the connectors and everything on there. Let me just go ahead and just put that in from the bottom here. There we go. So now that lines up very, very nicely. So I'm moving along quite nicely. I've got a little bit more to do. I think maybe in a couple more considerations and versions I should be pretty close to having her done. All right, I'll keep you posted. Thank you.